Justice V.R.KRISHNA Iyer was always against death penalty. It was his strong conviction, his judicial conviction, social conviction, moral conviction and spiritual conviction that no person had the right to take life which was given by the Lord. He was a believer in life after death, and for that reason also he believed that life had to be lived to its natural end. Some of you may have seen the famous Tamil movie Veeru Mandi, written and directed by the veteran Kamal Hassan. That film starts with a statement by Justice Krishna Iyer.
நான் V.R. கிருஷ்ண ஐயர், அதான் என்னோட பேர். நான் வக்கீலாக இருந்தேன், அதுக்கப்புறம் மந்திரியாக இருந்தேன், அதுக்கப்புறம் ஜட்ஜியாக இருந்தேன். 88 வயசாச்சு எனக்கு. நான் அனுபவத்தோடு கூட சொல்கிறேன், கட்டாயமாக நம்ம இந்த தண்டனை, மரண தண்டனையை நீக்கவே வேணும். இது நான் சொல்கிறது இல்லை, புத்தனோட காலம் முதல் நம்ம சம்ஸ்காரத்தில் எப்படி இருக்குது. மகாத்மா காந்தி எப்போவுமே சொல்லியிருக்கார், தெய்வம் தந்ததான ஜீவனை தெய்வத்துக்கு தான் எடுக்கிறதுக்கு அதிகாரம் உள்ளது, கோடதிக்கு என்ன அதிகாரம், ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு என்ன அதிகாரம் என்று சொல்லியிருக்கார்கள். Do remember that death penalty is only another kind of judicially sanctioned murder.
Justice Krishna Iyer was truly one of the most remarkable sons of India. Whether as a politician, a minister, briefly as it may have been, as a lawyer, as a judge, and after retirement, as a jurist, as a social activist, and as the conscience keeper of this nation. His career as a judge was undoubtedly the most remarkable part of his life. He rewrote Indian jurisprudence. He has Krishna-Iyerized the jurisprudence of India. He brought in Indian values, the values of dharma, the values of karuna into Indian jurisprudence. He remarkably blended the existing constitutional jurisprudence with the Indian ethos. That is why even after retirement, the jurisprudence which he has left behind is a legacy we are proud of. Even after retirement, he continued as a social activist till he breathed his last. I am proud to present to you a biopic on the life of a saga, the saga we call Krishna Iyer.
The end of an era. The burning flame of justice is no more. The judge who pronounced judgments with open eyes and watched over the world shrewdly had closed those eyes forever. A century named V.R.KRISHNA IYER is complete.
Justice Krishna Iyer, I feel, is one of the greatest legal luminaries which this country has known. What was unique was that he was first a minister and then was elevated to the bench. Something I think only happened in the case of Justice Krishna Iyer. His tenure of nearly 7 or 8 years in the Supreme Court is marked by such a large number of judgments that have dealt with practically every field of law. Justice Krishna Iyer will be remembered for the kind of contribution that he has made to all fields of law. And I am sure for generations of future judges and lawyers, he will be an admirable legend whom they will respect, not only because of the depth of his knowledge, his scholarship, but because of the qualities of heart and head which he possessed in such great abundance. It is vital that young India should learn from the long and varied career of Justice Krishna Iyer, dedicated to the service of the people of this country and the cause of justice, which began some 100 years ago from a small, tiny village in Palghat in the state of Kerala.
Vaidyanathapuram Ramayar Krishna Iyer, alias V.R.KRISHNA Iyer, was born on Star Pooyam on the 31st of October 1915 at the house of his mother Narayani Ammal at Double Street in Shekharipuram, Palakkad. This was the room where the birth took place. This house was donated later to the Gramajana Samuham by his mother's brother, Sri S.L. Venkadachala Iyer. Father Ramayya's house was near the Venkadeshwara temple in Palakkad, Vaidyanathapuram. It was here that his ancestral home existed. The serene and scenic Kalpati river flowed very near this house. The famous Kalpati Shiva temple, known for Kalpati Rathotsavam, was quite nearby. At the very early childhood of Krishna Iyer, the family had shifted to Koilandi, where his father was practicing as an advocate since 1913. Beginning his career as a pleader, Ramayya had flourishing practice at both Koilandi and Talasheri and owned a Ford car as early as 1920. The affectionate and benevolent mother Narayani Ammal's concern and sympathy towards the poor had naturally rubbed off on child Krishnan too. Ramayya and family used to stay at the house Padinyare Matham behind the Mahavishnu temple in Kodamangalam, Koilandi. The old compound wall and the old gate still stand as it was. In the place of the old house, there exist only the servant quarters and an old well today. The lavish baths at the temple pond, the childhood games at the vast temple compound, and the truly rustic life have sown the seeds of love for fellow human beings in the mind of young Krishnan. Holding the hands of his father, the boy had a chance to listen to the address by Mahatma Gandhi at Kozhikode beach. This resulted in the Mahatma, the embodiment of Swaraj, becoming a legendary image in the mind of young Krishnan. The primary education of Krishna Iyer up to Standard 5 was at the school then known as Kodamangalam Elementary School, known today as the Government Lower Primary School. The school itself was shifted to its present location in 1924 due to the untiring efforts of the father Rama Iyer, who was the member of the district board. Thereafter, Krishna Iyer had his class 6, 7, 8 studies at the school, then known as Basil Mission School, and later renamed Bishop School, and presently known as the Pandalayani Aided Primary School. Later, he had his 9th, 10th classes at the Koilandi Board High School, which is today the Government Boys School. Krishna Iyer, after his 10th standard, joined the Victoria College at Palakkad for his intermediate course. The regal corridors and verandas of Victoria College, the ancient clock tower, the great old tree, the sports pavilion, this classroom where illustrious professors like K.S. Vaidyanatha Iyer handled classes, all these contributed to Krishna Iyer's proficiency and command over the English language and literature. During his intermediate college days, Krishna Iyer stayed at the house of Sri V.V. Subramanya Iyer, his father's elder brother, located about 1 kilometer from the college in the village of Tarakkad. Krishna Iyer studied at the Annamalai University at Chidambaram in Tamil Nadu from the year 1933 to 1935 and obtained a degree in English literature. He was an integral and inevitable presence at the debating club activities on every Saturday at the Gokhale Hall of the university. The university professors discerned a great future for this young man who could often intellectually overpower opponents on any subject with his great talent for telling arguments and powerful dissertations. It was purely coincidental that the same Annamalai University conferred an honorary doctorate on Krishna Iyer when he was later a judge at the Supreme Court, proving his old professor's vision right. Passing out with a distinction in his degree course, Krishna Iyer joined the Government Law College at Madras, having decided to follow the footsteps of his great father and pursue legal studies. It was indeed remarkable that every single day Krishna Iyer spent at this renowned law college went on to underline the irrefutable fact that this was his chosen vocation beyond any doubt.
We are very proud to be in the institution where V.R.KRISHNA IYER studied. There has been many stalwarts who have passed out of this institution, but still V.R.KRISHNA IYER stands out. Just as V.R.KRISHNA IYER has set an icon, has set a standard for all the students who are studying even now.
On completion of the BL degree in 1937, Krishna Iyer joined as an apprentice with the famous criminal lawyer Sri T.V. Sundaram Iyer in Kozhikode, very near to his sister's house. Listening avidly to the impeccable arguments and cross-examinations by the famed lawyers of the Kozhikode courts, The young Krishna Iyer grew up weaving big dreams for his future in the profession. Krishna Iyer was sworn in as an advocate on the 19th of September 1938, and he commenced practice in Koilandi, the command area of his illustrious father, and later on shifted to Talasheri. It was in these historical courts of Talasheri that the very eminent lawyer V.R.KRISHNA Iyer was refined and molded. In Talasheri, V.R.KRISHNA Iyer stayed as a tenant first in this house of Krishna Kurup, the father of Sri V.K. Krishna Menon at Tiruvangad. Later, he moved to Devi Nivas, which was a little closer to the courts. It was in this very room of the Talasheri Munsif Court that the young lawyer Krishna Iyer had to lock horns during the heated arguments in a civil suit with the then Munsif Sri P.V. Parameshwar Iyer. The Munsif realized that the young lawyer had been right in his arguments and decided that he wanted this young man. He immediately proposed a marriage with his beloved daughter Sharada. In the meanwhile, Sri Parameshwar Iyer was promoted as sub-judge and was transferred to Salem. It was here, in this house at Salem, that the traditional function of meeting the bride took place. Krishna Iyer had a little hesitancy in going ahead with the alliance, as the bride-to-be had education only up to 8th standard. Sharada's violent performance on that day more than made up for her deficiency in formal education. The young lawyer had nodded in favor of the alliance. It was in this house at the 12th street of Kalpati, belonging to the grandfather of Sharada, Sri N.N. Neelakanta Iyer, that the marriage of Krishna Iyer took place on the 6th February 1941. Devakotai born Sharada had her primary education in this Appayar school just across the road. Just nearby was the house of the uncle of Sharada Krishna Iyer, Advocate Sri N.N. Subramanya Iyer. Krishna Iyer reminisced that their matrimony and its conjugal bliss blooms into excellence like a flower hidden in a bower which in sunshine rises above the bushes. The couple was blessed with 2 sons, Ramesh and Paramesh. The fame of his illustrious father, Ram Iyer, made the life's journey of V.R.KRISHNA Iyer rather smooth and easy. A major share of Krishna Iyer's professional income was from the landlords of the time, but he became known for his handling of criminal cases. He had fought many cases in the courts for the rights of the farmers and the laborers, earning the reputation that he was left-oriented and a nationalist. Krishna Iyer was jailed under the Preventive Detention Act. He was housed in the Talasheri sub-jail initially and later at the Kannur Central Jail. He had to spend 30 grueling days in the company of bedbugs and mosquitoes, confined behind the iron bars and surrounded by impregnable stone walls. It was this brief but bitter experience that made Krishna Iyer bring forth major jail reforms in improving the quality of life of the prisoners when he became the Minister for the Jails in 1957 April in the then government. Later, when Krishna Iyer became a Supreme Court judge, again prompted him to make incisive remarks in the Sunil Batra case.
I owe my prison reforms to one man, and that's Mr. Krishna Iyer. And nobody knows the reason. Only I know the reason. Because I didn't declare it. But I just read him. I read him. I got inspired by his judgments, all his judgments. And he had been he's the first man in India who talked about essential quality of life to be given to a prisoner to get him out of the victimization and the revolving door. Supreme Court judgments is the law of the land. And then coming from Justice Krishna Iyer is the final word in humanity. So I put it into practice. Nobody understood.